is a leadership that will enslave you. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we have decided to find a leadership of our own.
Not your average nigga, I'm a god out the hood. They can't downplay me, I came up, I'm elevated. I ain't gotta say too much for them to know I'm coming for what's mine. You know they see me in my presence, say they see how I'm coming. Young, but you not just gonna finesse me like you did my peoples. Then back when you said they was emancipated. This ain't that. Your head too big, you feeling yourself. The game wasn't fair, you had the advantage, we wasn't educated. I don't look at you people the same. Nah. Your worst nightmare, my skin tone about them chains. Yeah. Not no circus lion, son, I can't be tamed. You gon' have to kill me, pussy, Toby ain't my name. Y'all still want us think our history started when we were slaves? What? Come on now, talk about them pyramids we made. I was chosen by that man, you know y'all just been running game. The nerve of you acting like...
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another fire episode of Shifting the Culture podcast. I'm your host, Brother King Cam. All right, so today or tonight, we want to delve into a topic that's both timely and impactful. But before we get into that, first I want to shout out everybody in the comment section. Make sure that you let us know what city and state that you tuned in from. Make sure you comment your city and state and let us know where you checking us out from. Also, I need the Facebook family to like and share, comment. I need the YouTube family to make sure that you do a couple of things. I need you to make sure that you smash that subscribe button. Smash the subscribe button and make sure you hit the bell so you can be notified each and every time that we drop a video, as well as making sure that you hit that like button as well. Comment so that we can get the engagement up. Shout out to the Twitter family who's watching this as well. So, like I mentioned earlier, we want to delve into a topic that's both timely and impactful. The recent executive order signed by President Trump, which rolled back and eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is long for DEI programs across federal agencies. This move has ignited a national conversation, prompting various responses from major retailers and civil rights leaders. Notably, companies like Target have announced a rollback of their DEI initiatives, including support programs for Black-owned businesses following the executive order. This decision has sparked calls for boycotts from individuals and organizations, highlighting the tension between corporate policies and community expectations. So if you watch my last video that I did around the question who benefited most from DEI, then we talked a little bit about the effects of it, who actually benefited the most, and things of that nature. So, but I wanted to specifically do this episode around the DEI topic because of what recently took place. Okay, in contrast, Costco has chosen to maintain its commitment to DEI efforts. Rev Al Sharpton led 100 members of the National Action Network in Harlem. They visited a Costco store to show support for the retailer's stance. This act underscores the importance of corporate alignment with DEI principles and the support it garners from community leaders. And that is the focal point of tonight's conversation. That's the focal point of tonight's conversation. The corporate alignment, the importance of corporate alignment with DEI principles and the support it garners from community leaders. I recently put out a post where it showed Reverend Al Sharpton and the 100 members from the National Action Network going into Costco and doing a buy-in. So they're going in there, and what they're doing is they are going to support the store. They're spending money in the store. And a lot of people have a problem with that. I have a issue with that. Not an issue with Reverend Sharpton, but an issue with this particular move that was made, because I'm trying to figure out if we can lead 100 members to go into Costco and to show support to Costco, then why not take that effort and put it into a Black-owned business? Why not take that effort and put it into a Black-owned business that we know that could be possibly struggling, because we know Costco not struggling. That's what we know for sure. Costco is not struggling, whether they stood with DEI or they decided to remove their DEI programs. Costco doors was not going to close. Costco doors was not going to close. So that's the focal point of this conversation. Have DEI programs effectively supported the black community to the extent we should in turn support corporations like Costco? That's what we want to discuss today, and we want to get into Rev Al Sharpton and his move to do that, because a lot of people decided they were going to boycott Target. They were going to boycott Target because Target decided to remove their DEI programs and initiatives. So the national conversation now is that we're going to begin to boycott all retailers. This is in the black community. All retailers who do not support DEI initiatives. I'm all for boycotting multi-million-dollar corporations because they've definitely benefited from our suffering and oppression here in America. So I'm all for boycotting them. Question is, though, if we boycott one for not supporting DEI, but we support another one for supporting DEI and not knowing if DEI has effectively supported the black community to the extent that it should, then why do we feel like we need to support that retailer that supported DEI? Because it's one thing for them to support it, that's fine. They can continue to support it. But why do we have to then support them is the question. That's the question that we have to continuously ask ourselves, because it's very important. They're taking our black dollars. And I say taking as if we're not going in there giving it to them. They're not forcibly taking them, but we going in there giving them our black dollars. So how is that black dollar that we giving them, that they now have possession of, how is that being put back into our community? Through DEI, because that's the focal point of the conversation. So how are they taking that money, and then how are they funneling that money back through DEI programs into our community if DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, has supported the black community effectively? That's the question. That's the question. That's the question. So, and I found it funny because, there were people on Instagram that, what's the term I want to use? They couldn't understand what was wrong with Rev Al Sharpton and his decision to do this. And the point that I brought up, because they said, well, you can go ahead and talk about this on the podcast, and is going to talk about this on the podcast. The point is, why not champion those resources, those 100 members of the 100 plus, because it wasn't just 100, it was actually 100 plus members of the National Action Network to go into black-owned businesses. Now, if he's done that, if Rev Al Sharpton has done that, then this conversation is invalid. But from the community and what I've been able to find in research, I don't see where the National Action Network has did a 100 plus member buy-in at a black business. So let's see. Not that I know of. That's why we got to find out. And that doesn't mean that he doesn't and that doesn't mean Rev Al Sharpton hasn't supported black businesses, because he has. So that's not the point that we're making. Let's see. See, yeah, like I said, they haven't done a buy-in at black-owned businesses. But that again, I'm not going to disrespect Reverend Al Sharpton the way some of our people disrespect Reverend Al Sharpton. This picture behind me is certainly crooked. Let me see. There we go. It's bothering me, y'all. Is it crooked? Okay. Now I just gotta leave it because I can't mess with it now. And if I mess with it, mess around and fall off the hook. So anyway, I am not gonna disrespect the work of Reverend Al Sharpton as a civil rights leader. Now there are things that have been said in the community. Let me do this real quick.
There can never really be justice on stolen land. Are you really?
Freak, are you kidding me?
Okay. So there are things that have been said in the community about Reverend Al Sharpton, but me personally, have never heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan confirm these accusations of Reverend Al Sharpton of being an informant or being working for the government, all these different type of things that people have said about him in the past. Never heard the minister verify any of that information. So you know me, if the minister verify it, then it's a for sure thing. But if the minister didn't verify it, then you got to take it with a grain of salt. So those are some of the things that the people have accused Reverend Al Sharpton of doing. Now, selling out doesn't mean you have to be an actual agent of the United States government. People have accused Reverend Al of selling out, and to a certain degree, he has done that. But when it comes to actually being a federal agent and all of that, or an informant, don't know nothing about that. And so I can't speak on any of that. But the brother, from his perspective, has put in good work, because you got to think he's not of the school of thought or the ideology of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He's not that. He is a student, of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So his ideology is from the civil rights leader's perspective through Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Non-violent ideology, integration, change through the system, marching, protesting, these different type of things. That's his understanding. That's his perspective. And from that perspective, he has accomplished different things. He's raised awareness for voting rights, education, equality. He's fought against and advocated for police reform. You understand? He has stood with families who have been victims of domestic terrorism through police violence, held people accountable, raised awareness, all these different things. These are things that Reverend Al Sharpton has done. And you cannot take them away from him. So I'm not going to be the person that will try to take those things away from Reverend Al Sharpton. However, there is a however. However, this type of fight is ineffective. I'm going to say that again. This way of fighting is ineffective. We've seen this way for a very long time now, and it has been ineffective. And what do I mean by ineffective? I mean that it's not bringing about the change that we want to see. That's the part that we when we say ineffective, right? It's not effective to the extent that we want it to be, for change to be. That's what we mean when we say that this style is ineffective, because it has created policy right? It has, had laws to be written in legislation and things like that. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that they write laws, and then the minute that they write them, they work to destroy the law that they've written. So it's not that they write a law on behalf of black people or the black community, and then they work to uphold that law and to follow that law and to, do right by the legislation that they've passed. No, they put something in place just to say that they did it, and then behind the scenes they work to unravel it just as fast as they wrote it into law. So, with that being said, that's what you call symbols without substance. That's what we call symbols without substance. We got the right to vote. That was something that we asked for, we fought for, we bled and died for that. Some people bled and died for that, right? And you got the right to vote. And the minute that you got the right to vote, they've started putting all these different barriers and these different things in place to stop you from even executing and exercising your right to vote. See, that's a prime example of how that mechanism works. Oh no, they put you in a two-party system of Democrats and Republicans and present to you the top candidates in those parties, and then you exercise your right to vote on those two top candidates. Still, those candidates are under the control and carry out the agenda of white supremacy. So regardless if you exercising your right to vote, you still fall under the tyranny and the oppression of white supremacy. So what good is the right to vote if you don't have the ability to vote those in office who are going to execute the agenda of the black man and woman in America? We got to be real. We have to be real. So when we study the fight against oppression and bigotry and white supremacy through the lens of civil rights leaders and Dr. Martin Luther King followers like Rev Al Sharpton, we see that we get some policy written, that's true. But it's a symbol without substance, because the enemy can come and say, well, look, we gave you the right to vote. Well, look, we gave you the George Floyd Act. But behind the scenes, they're not following that. Behind the scenes, they could care less about your right to vote, because their agenda is to always execute white supremacy, specifically with the idea of oppressing the black man and woman in America. That's just what that's going to be. Okay? So, now that we know that, family, let's get to this whole Costco thing. Because you got some people who did not like the fact that Reverend Al showed up and supported Costco. So let's do this. Because I thought this article was interesting. Okay, so this says that Al Sharpton's DEI stunt backfires spectacularly after liberal icon marches in support of Costco, and they call it the kiss of death. And this is Daily Mail. This is an article from Daily Mail. So it says that Costco shoppers warned that Al Sharpton's involvement in a buy-in celebrating their DEI policies could be a kiss of death, quote unquote, for the retail giant. The show of support for Sharpton's organization came after Costco and its shareholders defied President Donald Trump and conservative activists by voting to stick to their diversity, equity, and inclusion policies last week. The controversial civil rights activist led 100 members of his National Action Network through the Harlem Costco to spend their money in a show of gratitude for the decision. Leading a buy-in with 100 plus National Action members at the Costco location in Harlem, New York City, to show support for the company's strong commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, Reverend Al Sharpton said in a post on X, formerly known as Twitter. Sharpton revealed in a speech outside the store that he bought $125 gift vouchers for each buy-in participant to spend inside. We're going shopping at Costco because they stood with us. People that stand with us, we will stand with them. He said, but the move has been sharply criticized online due to Sharpton's divisive reputation. Some critics called his involvement as "quote unquote" the kiss of death, or kiss of death for Costco. Somebody said Al Sharpton, kiss of death for Costco, once said. Wow, that's crazy. You know what just popped up in my head? I'll share with y'all in a minute. As a lifelong customer, when Reverend Al Sharpton is using you as liberal party tool, I am done with you. Sharpton is the kiss of death, another added. Others said they would now boycott the retailer, such as the infamous boycott of Bud Light after their partnership with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney, due to their disappointment in Costco aligning itself with Sharpton. It is unclear if Costco had any knowledge of Sharpton's plans. I wonder how much they love Al Sharpton now that they're getting Bud Lighted. I'm canceling my membership's auto renewal this week and won't be shopping there again, one critic said. If Al Sharpton shows up, you most definitely on the wrong side of history, another said, while a third described him as a chaos agent. Now, let me just, because I see where this is going. So let me just say this. Because to my understanding, a lot of black people don't even shop at Costco. Like that's not our big box retailer of choice. When we go in to shop in when we go in to shop in bulk, we not going to Costco to shop in bulk. For the most part, if we go in to shop we going to shop in bulk, we going to Sam's Club. So I wonder if these people who are calling Reverend Al Sharpton the kiss of death and canceling their memberships, I wonder if these people are white people. Because one thing that we're not going to do is we're not going to align ourselves with the enemy to come against our brother, regardless to how wrong or how much of a sellout our brother may be. We're not going to join the enemy in condemning him and his idea of what he think is right. That's what we're not going to do. So these comments, these things that are being said about Al, lead me to believe that these people are, that these are white people, and they are upset with Reverend Al Sharpton. And because they are upset with Reverend Al Sharpton, because he stands up in the way that he stands up for black people, whether you agree with it or not, because he stands up for black people, they got a problem with Reverend Al doing that. Because white people always got a problem with a black man that's going to speak truth to power. I'm going to say that again. White people always have a problem with black people, or a black man specifically, who is willing to stand up against the power structure and point out the wrong of the power structure. Any black man that's willing to stand up and speak truth to power, white people really feel away. So if they can't kill you, which they ultimately would like to do, to shut your mouth, if they can't kill you, then what they do is they withdraw the support financially and different things like that, so they can try to stop the movement. So the comments that are being said, it sounds to me like this is white people that's upset because Reverend Al Sharpton showed up at their spot. But guess what? Let's get into what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, because he gave us a good way to avoid this type of controversy. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us a great way to avoid this controversy if we would just listen. Now I'm sorry, I keep looking at my forehead, y'all, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know if that's the camera. I don't know if I'm just greasy. I don't know what's going on, but it's kind of throwing me off. So that's why I keep looking. So if you see me doing that, matter of fact, let me just do this because I gotta fix it now. So give me a hot second. Give me a hot second, fam. All right. Let's do this real quick. Give me a quick second. And we will. Hold on.
There can never really be justice on.
Give me a quick second, family, and we will be right back.
There can never really be justice on stolen land. Are you really for peace and equality? Or when my car is hooked up, no, you want to follow me. Your laws are minimal, because you won't even think about looking at the real criminal.
You know. Yes, sir. The victory belongs to the righteous. Our power is in our unity. Yeah. Look. When you see me coming, know it's serious. Am I really like that? Ask the trenches if you curious. I still laugh and know how to have a good time. Just gotta ask God to forgive us for how we get when we furious. Masculine, he, him, his. Yeah, I'm on that. Try to cancel me, you might get canceled. You should know that. Look, I can't let them castrate me. No, sir, they won't pay me for my manhood. Keep it, we don't want that. U.S. soldiers come home and the people thank them for their service. If they knew how many lives we saved, they thank us for our service. Save some people's lives that might not ever know we saved them. Long as Allah pleased with how we out here working, then it's always worth it. Look, please don't get us confused. Yeah, we pushing peace, but we get busy, we get violent too. Got some brothers with the movement, but they ain't got all they screws. We just found the truth and we with Allah. Come against us and you bound to lose. Can't say I ain't warn you. Can't say I ain't tell you.
All right. I think that helped me out a little bit, because I couldn't stand it. It's throwing off my concentration. Okay. So, how do we deal with this dilemma? Because now Reverend Al has found himself in a situation, but we got an answer for that, because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam are about solving problems, right? Supreme mathematics and problem solvers. So I want to read something from this great monumental book called Message to the Black Man in America by Elijah Muhammad, because he gives us the solution, right? So he says to us on page 170 that the slave master has given you enough education to go and do for self. But this education is not being used for self. It is even offered back to the slave masters to help them to keep you a dependent people, looking to them for support. Let us unite every good that is in us for the uplifting of the American so-called Negroes to the equal of the world's independent nations. I'm going to read that again. He said, let us unite every good that is in us for the uplifting of the American so-called Negroes to the equal of the world's independent nations. Ask for a start for self, and the American white people, I believe, are willing to help give us a start if they see you and I are willing to do for self. It will remove from them not only the worry of trying to give jobs in schools to a lazy people, but also would get them honor and sincere friendship all over the Asiatic world, and God himself would prolong their time on the earth. So what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is telling the black man, we have to shift the culture. We have to shift the thinking. See him right here behind me? He's letting us know. He's telling us in this book that we have to shift the culture. What has the minister been saying to us? We have to do something for ourselves. He's been pushing the program of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he tells us here, utilize our education that we've been given. We got a bunch of degrees in the black community. We have doctors, we have lawyers, we have engineers, we have everything that we need to build a nation, because you don't build the United States of America without having these different individuals, these different skill sets. You don't build the United States of America without having blue collar workers. You don't have a United States of America without people being able to utilize their hands and being able to cultivate the earth. So we have everything in our community. We have the Booker T. Washington side of the community that have trades and skills that help build the roads and build the machinery, know how to work the machinery to till the land. We got all of that in Booker T. Washington, and then we got the W.E.B. Du Bois, where we have gone to school and gotten higher education, and we have become bachelor's degrees and master's degrees and doctoral degrees, and we're able to lead our people. We have all of these different things in place. And what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is saying is let's use them to build ourselves as the other independent nations of the world have done. He said we must stop relying upon the white man to care for us. We must become an independent people. And I was having this conversation on Clubhouse the other day. White people are sick of dealing with black people problems. They sick of dealing with you in the economy and us. They sick of dealing with us on issues of job security and social security and issues of, homelessness in our community and, all these different things that affect black people. They really sick of dealing with our problems. And frankly, they would probably appreciate it if you told them, wait, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. This is what we need from y'all, because what we're about to do is execute this plan to fix our own problems. We don't need none of your scientists, your doctors. We don't need none of that. We do need some of that capital, though. We do need some of that bread, their reparations. Oh, yeah, we're going to need some of this land, too. We need some of this land for ourselves. Why? Because we tilled it. Why? Because we owned it, actually. You are actually the visitors on this land. You see, this is the land of the original and aboriginal people. Let's not get it twisted. Because, see, now when you want to start throwing people out the country for being illegal, you forgot that in your history, you are a foreigner on this land. See, you are a foreigner on this land. There were people here when you got here. There were natives here when you got here. The land that you set your flag on, the land that you settled on, the Louisiana Purchase and the settlements of the 13 colonies, all of these places were land that was already occupied. So don't think that you have the right, because you have proclaimed yourself and made yourself and developed this idea of white supremacy and American citizenship, that you can start throwing people out the country. Because if we threw you out the country, the United States of America, where would you go? Except back to Europe, if they would accept you back there. Yeah, think about that. Since we want to start throwing people out the country and start talking about who's an illegal alien, well, wait a minute. Since when were you a native? Since when were you a native on any part of the planet? We let you inhabit Europe. We put you there. We put you in the hills and cave sides of Europe as a prison to box you and bottle you in. But you're not even native in Europe. So let's not even continue to play these games, white people. So what you need to do is you need to come up off some of this land. You need to come up off them resources, them dollar bills, because we're going to need all of that. Them tools, them excavators, and them bulldozers. We're going to need all of that. All of that. We're going to need everything you got. But we about to go and we about to do something for ourselves. It's only right. You can't come up in Inca and Aztec country and, the whole settling of the West, where there were the American Indians and the natives, and Mexico that had our Hispanic family already settled there. All in the Midwest, it was people there. You know what I'm saying? It was natives that was all on the East Coast, and here you come. Strange people. Weak bone. Stale face. This is you. A strange foreign people. Stranger in this land. Stranger on this planet. 196,940,000 square miles, you a stranger. But you want to start throwing people out. So, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. So what you need to do, we don't need to hear nothing from you. No pushback. You just need to follow our demands. So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said we need to stop relying on the white man to care for us, and we must become an independent people. Because people ask me all the time, well, what's the solution? I'm giving you the solution right now. Just listen. So the first thing he said is we have to separate ourselves or yourselves from the slave master, meaning you got to stop trying to include them in everything that we do. We are trying to go free. We trying to go for ourselves. We don't want to bring white people with us. We don't. So all your white friends, you got to leave them where they at in white America. That don't mean you can't call them every now and then. Y'all can still hang out, but you got to leave them in white America when it comes to us establishing ourselves as an independent people. That don't mean you can't still shop in their stores if you want to. That don't mean anything. See, separation is not segregation. We're not trying to segregate ourselves as to say that you cannot spend your money with other people. That's not what we're saying. But what we are saying is that your priority, your number one objective, and your number one allegiance should be to your people. That's what we are saying. That is what we're saying. Okay? So that is a thing. The second thing is pool your resources, education, and qualifications for independence. I'm going to stop right there because for some reason, black people think that we don't have the ability to actually accomplish this thing. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad did it in the 60s, in the 50s, in the 60s, and the 70s. It was done. So it's not like you don't even have to go back to the 20s of Black Wall Street. You can go back to the 50s and the 60s and see what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad did. One thing that my brother Abdul always tell me, he said that success leaves clues. So if success leaves clues, then your ability to build a nation, an independent nation on your own has been done. The clues have been left already. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad left them. Show you $80 million empire at that time. Own grocery stores, own banks, own hospitals, own schools. He did it. So we don't have no excuse, because back then he didn't have Twitter, he didn't have Instagram, he didn't have any social media platforms, he didn't have an associate's degree, a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, a doctoral degree, a GED. He ain't had none of that. But he had the will and the desire to go and do something for self. So he went and did it. He didn't ask white people for permission. He didn't go to the White House and say, hey, listen, we want to do for ourselves. Do you mind if I go over here and take this land for myself? He didn't ask them for permission. And this is what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been telling us and pushing the economic program of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You don't gotta ask white people for anything. You don't have to get their permission. The minister said it's not white people or the enemy that is standing in our way. It's fear of the enemy. Because I was in the clubhouse space and first thing they brought up, when you talk about going for self, doing for self, being independent, the first thing that black people said, well, when we did it for ourselves in Black Wall Street, they came and bombed it and tore it down. So what's gonna stop them from doing the same thing? Because they don't never want to see us doing right and doing for ourselves, and all they're gonna do is come and tear it down. Well, so what? If they decided they want to come and tear it down, we'll build it back up again. But as I mentioned in that clubhouse conversation, the 3 sciences that the enemy said they would not teach black people was the science of mating, the science of business, and the science of warfare. You don't start business and don't set up an apparatus to protect what you built. That's not civilized. That's not intelligent. And the reason that we are always the ones getting got is because we don't understand that business is warfare. And that if business is warfare, you have to have things set up in place to protect what it is that you built. So in protecting what we build this time around, we don't have to worry about them coming and trying to bomb and trying to do all the things. I mean, they can do whatever they think that they want to do. We can't stop them from that. But at the end of the day, we'll be ready when they come. But we have to get out of a fear mentality, a scared mentality, which will stop us from being successful. So the second thing was pool your resources, education, and qualifications for independence. Then he said, number 3 was stop forcing yourselves into places where you're not wanted. Oh boy, that was so heavy because we are forever doing that. That's what we do. Anytime white people kick us out, here we go. Stop forcing ourselves to come back in. Forcing us. They was throwing out a couple years ago. They was throwing you out of these restaurants. They was throwing us out of Starbucks and throwing us out of Waffle House and throwing us out of these places. And we boycotting and crying and fighting to go back in a place we got thrown out. That don't even make no sense. Stop forcing yourselves into places where you're not wanted. Starbucks coffee is not that good. You can go and build your own coffee shop and make a better coffee, a more healthier coffee, or cappuccino, or mocha, or whatever it is you like to drink. You can go and develop a healthier option for yourself and don't have to worry about being kicked out because you own it. Or somebody, your brother, your sister, some black person on it. Why fight to go back to Starbucks? And Starbucks is literally killing you in the drinks that they selling you. So they taking your money and taking your life. They taking your money and taking your life, and you are literally fighting to go back into that type of environment. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, right? You can't make it make sense because it don't make sense. The fourth thing that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said was make your own neighborhood a decent place to live. Don't go leave your neighborhood and move into another one. Make your own neighborhood decent places to live. He said that. Number 5. Got that playing in the background. That's not actually the song I want to be playing though, for real. Shout out to Golden Child on that record though. But so we talked about pooling resources. Number 3 was stop forcing yourselves into places where you're not wanted. Make your own neighborhood a safe and decent place to live. Then he said, number 5. Now y'all not gonna like this one, but he said to rid yourselves of the lust of wine and drink and learn to love self and your kind before loving others. That's a big one. We got to get into the, we got to grasp that understanding. I was just telling somebody the other day, people really be drinking liquor for social engagement when they really don't even like it. Liquor is disgusting. And that's why people make all these nasty faces when they drink it straight, and more than likely they mixing it. That's why you mix it with juice and punch and all that, because it's really nasty. You forcing yourself to drink something that's really disgusting and also bad for your health. Think about, this is insanity now. This is the mental issues that we suffer as a people, because this is a thing. And now when the most honorable Elijah Muhammad or the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say, hey, put the liquor down, put the wine down, we can save that money that we spend on Casamigos and Patron and Douce and Hennessy, VSOP, all that money that we spend on that, we could take that money and allocate it somewhere else. And guess what? We can keep our health and we can keep our minds without poisoning the temple of God. How about that? How about that for something to do? I mean, this is good guidance. This is good guidance, all on page 170 and 171 in Message to the Black Man, family. on how we can actually do something for ourselves. So he go on to say, in number 6, you have to unite to create a future for yourself. Number 7, build your own homes, schools, hospitals, and factories. Distribution is key, because I just saw this. Shout out to Brother Vaughn in the Rockwell radio show. He brought this up on his Facebook page, where he talked about how Tabitha Brown, pretty much y'all may be probably aware of our sister Tabitha Brown. She was like, hey, we'll slow down with the boycott now, because when you pull out a Target, now I sell my products in Target. My products are distributed on the shelves of Target. This is a black woman now. And we would effectively be boycotting her and other black businesses who have their products distributed through a Walmart, through a Target, through any of these big time retailers, because we're boycotting the retailer. And at the same time, unintentionally, we will boycott black business. Yeah. We got to think, man. We can't be emotional about this thing. We got to think. Thinking is what's going to get us out of this today. We can't just be emotional because they called us nigga, or they said this, or they did that. They want to roll back DEI and all of that stuff. See, that's emotional. That's emotionalism. That is the lack of emotional intelligence. Because everything that somebody says sets you off and takes you off your square, and you're not able to operate, you're not able to think straight, and you react emotionally. These are the type of things that happen. So that's what Tabitha Brown is saying, and I'm sure I didn't even look at the comments in the post. I didn't even look at the comments under the post, but I already can tell you black people was crucifying Tabitha Brown. Oh, she was a coon. She done sold out for the money, and you know what I'm saying? Like they went in. They went in on poor sister Tabitha Brown, and all she trying to tell you is, hey, listen, if you go and you boycott these big businesses, these big retailers, what you're gonna do is you're going to effectively end up boycotting black businesses who use them for distribution. But this is what DJ Rockwell said. Let me see. Let me get it up here, because he brought up this point about black people owning distribution. See, he said this. He said boycotting the big box stores that carry her products, talking about Tabitha Brown, puts her in a lose-lose position. True. Here's the lesson. We can develop great brands and products, but until we control distribution, we have not achieved independence. Wow. Powerful point. Shout out to DJ Rockwell and the Rockwell radio show for bringing that up with Tabitha Brown, because that is extremely important. And this is why the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad tells us in point number 7 here, that we have to build factories. Because if we build factories, we can control distribution. If we build factories, we can control distribution. So we have to build your homes, our own homes, schools, hospitals, and factories. Because factories allow us to control distribution, and then we can truly be free at that point and independent. Because right now, you got a bunch of bum brands and products that are black owned, but you still got to be distributed by the enemy. So when they do something to our people and we say, hey, we're going to boycott. Well, you boycott them in theory, but you also end up boycotting your own brother and sister on the back end. Didn't even know it. So think about it now. Just think. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm asking us to do, is we got to think. So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, oh, y'all not going to like this one either. This is number 8. He said, do not seek to mix your blood through racial integration. That's a podcast for another day. But you know, Dr. Umar been talking about it, snow bunny hopping, you know what I'm saying, sleeping with white women and all that kind of stuff. We already know the deal. But that's a whole podcast for another day. But where do you think they got it from? The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Okay, so number 9, he says, stop buying expensive cars, fine clothes, and shoes until conditional. Because I know y'all was about to be upset. What you mean? The minister ride around in fine clothes and got a nice and gotta drive expensive cars and all that. How the messenger gonna say to stop buying it, but the minister I already know what you gonna say. I already know what you gonna do. And I know black people, we like nice cars and clothes. When we get some money, them the 2 things that we gonna spend money on is cars and clothes. I already know. I'm a black man that like nice cars and nice clothes. So I already know what you was thinking. But listen, it's conditional. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to stop buying expensive cars and fine clothes and shoes. I love shoes. I got a sneaker addiction, shoe addiction. But look, he said this, before being able to live in a fine home. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. He said to stop buying expensive cars, clothes, and shoes before being able to live in a fine home. Let me get the we got to break that down. Because he didn't say a good home. He didn't say a nice home. He said a fine home. Well, what's the definition of fine? Because I know what you're thinking. You're saying, well, I got a nice home. I got a good home. I can buy my clothes and shoes and cars because I got a good home. He didn't say that. He didn't say good. He didn't say nice. He didn't say, great. He said a fine home. So what is the definition of fine? Fine is superior in kind, quality, or appearance. Excellent. Huh? That's what fine means. Well or healthy in the medical term, but when it comes to materials, it is superior in kind, quality, or appearance. Excellent. Come on now. Come on now. One time for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because he was putting us on. Right? He said, did you stop buying those things before you're able to live in a fine home? In a fine home. So he wasn't telling us to settle for mediocrity. He wasn't telling you to settle for just any home that you get, any home that they throw up there and you can just qualify for and buy. He said a fine home. Man. You know the difference between going out to eat and then fine dining? That's the difference in the homes that he's talking about. You got a nice home, but then you got a fine home. You got good food at a nice restaurant, but then you got fine dining. Well, when you hear fine dining, the first thing that comes to mind is what? China. Very, very expensive utensils and dishes, right? Crystal glasses, huh? Eloquent and exquisite menu, high prices. All this come to mind when you think about fine dining. That's why black people don't do a bunch of fine dining. Then think about that. We spend good coin on cars. We spend coin on clothes and shoes, but we won't spend that coin on food. Just think about it. But listen, look, gourmet food, gourmet. These are the different terms when you talk about what fine is, fine dining or a fine home. See? Man, this is the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was encouraging us to do. He said, you can still buy your clothes and your shoes and your cars, but first get a fine home and then buy that stuff. See, Cambridge Dictionary says it's excellent or much better than average. So don't get an average home. Get a better than average home. Get an excellent home. A fine home. That's what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is asking us to do. Now, if you don't like fine homes, and you don't like fine dining, then maybe this ain't the program for you. But for those of us who want the best that this world can offer, then the program of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as taught to us and exemplified by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is where you want to be. It's where you want to be, family. All right? Where you want to be. So that's what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was asking us to do when he said, get a fine home. See? Then number 10, he says, spend your money among yourselves. Circulate the dollar. We know the power of circulating the dollar. Build an economic system among yourselves. And number 11 or 12, was protect your women. Protect your women. Now number 12 is a whole lecture that we can get into as far as protecting the women. But I just ran through 12 points from the program and the position of the Nation of Islam about how we are able to achieve economic independence and go and do something for ourselves. The mindset that we have to have in order to get it done. And I don't see anything that was listed here that we cannot and are not capable of actually achieving. I don't see it. The only thing that's standing in our way is ourselves. The only thing that's stopping us is ourselves. The only thing that's hindering us is ourselves and our inability or our unwillingness to unite with our people. Because we move to unite, you throw up religion. We move to unite, you throw up ethnicity. We move to unite, you throw up this and you throw up that and all of this kind of stuff. So those type of individuals are what we call enemies to our rise. Because we're trying to unite our people. We're trying to clean up our community. We're trying to protect our women. We're trying to build our own institutions. You want to come and talk to us about religion and you want to come and talk to us about scripture. Well, the best example of the scripture is doing unto others as you would have done unto yourself. Do that before you decide that you want to execute any other part of the scripture. Handle that part. Love thy neighbor. Handle that part first before you decide that you want to lecture somebody else on any other part of the scriptures. Do that. Once you master that, then come and talk to us about any other part of the scripture that you want to. But loving thy neighbor, doing for self. The scripture also says that God loves a child who has their own. How could we be God-fearing people but don't have our own? How could you say you believe in God and you're a follower in Christ or a follower in Muhammad or a follower in Moses and you don't have your own? You continuously begging the enemy to do something that you have the power and the ability to do for yourself. No. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. So Rev Al Sharpton and his idea of supporting those multi-million-dollar corporations that have supported us, that's what he want to do. That's what he want to do. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that we should take that same energy and support our own businesses. We should take that same energy and we should be meeting on a national level that will help construct an agenda that we can now send down to the state level and then this local city level so we can create what is called LOCs, local organizing committees, so that we can begin to execute and to create our own ecosystems. But we need some people who are willing to participate and willing to eliminate any barriers or any excuses for you to be divisive, any barriers or any excuses that will stop you from coming together to work with your people, any barriers or excuses or any ideas or thoughts in your mind that will stop you from coming to offer what it is that you have, whether it be finances, whether it be education or resources to the movement so that we can do something for ourselves. We don't have no time to be having no other type of conversation. That's just the real talk about it. So, like I said, this is what Al wanted to do is what he wanted to do, but I don't agree with it. And I think we can take that same message of support and put it behind our own people, not Costco. Costco got support. Trust and believe. As you can see, Costco got support. Costco got so much support, they ready to give Rev Al the boot, and he's spending money in it. And that's why the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, stop forcing yourselves into places where you not wanted. Now, had Al called Costco and told them that, look, we appreciate y'all for supporting DEI and supporting black people and minorities and LGBTQ. So we coming in there, me and 100+ of my Black National Action Network members, and we about to spend some money with y'all. I guarantee you that white person on the other end of that phone would have said, hold on, who is this? Rev Al Sharpton? Hold, please. Would have sent that message up. Yeah, Rev Al Sharpton said he on the way, and they're going to spend some money with us. Man, the boy would have said, no. Tell them we don't need Rev Al to come nowhere near Costco. He can come and shop, but don't make it a spectacle. We don't need him to bring his people in here. We don't need them filming nothing. We don't need them putting out on social media. We don't need none of that. No, Rev Al can do, if he want to come shop, he can do that. But we not about to make this no circus, because at the end of the day, we don't need Rev Al for that. We don't need that. You don't upset our people in here that's spending good money. They're spending good money with us. Okay? And don't think now white people will boot you, will kick you to the curb, even if you spending good money with them, for they people that spend good money with them, because they have understood the importance of uniting with their own and fighting with their own and standing with their own. So don't think that because you spend good money with Costco that they won't kick you to the curb for another person that look like them. Because the goal for them is always the oppression of the original and the native people of the earth, so that white supremacy can continue to live. That's real. That's just real. So that's all we got on this, family. Appreciate y'all for tuning in tonight, checking out this episode of Shifting the Culture, man. I appreciate everybody commented, tapped in from all parts of the country. You know, man, thank you all for who all shared, who all, became a subscriber on YouTube. We appreciate it. We appreciate the retweets, man, the whole nine. We appreciate the whole family for locking in. And, man, make sure that you follow us on social media, not only on my page, my personal page, which is Brother King Cam, but we got an official Instagram page for the podcast. So shout out to that. Shout out to that. We got the official Instagram page, you know what I'm saying? Shifting the Culture Pod. So make sure you go and that you follow that page and stay tapped in, where we're just going to be pumping out different media stories and things like that. So make sure you stay tapped in there. But again, man, we appreciate everybody for tuning in. And man, we'll see you again next week on Shifting the Culture. I appreciate you. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum.
Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we have decided to find a leadership of our own.
Not your average nigga, I'm a god out the hood. They can't downplay me, I came up, I'm elevated. I ain't gotta say too much for them to know I'm coming for what's mine. You know they see me in my presence, say they see how I'm coming. Young, but you not just gonna finesse me like you did my peoples. Then back when you said they was emancipated. This ain't that. Your head too big, you feeling yourself. The game wasn't fair, you had the advantage, we wasn't educated. I don't look at you people the same. Nah. Your worst nightmare, my skin tone about them chains. Yeah. Not no circus lion, son, I can't be tamed. You gon' have to kill me, pussy, Toby ain't my name. Y'all still want us think our history started when we were slaves? What? Come on now, talk about them pyramids we made. I was chosen by that man, you know y'all just been running game. The nerve of you acting like